I still have never gotten my fortune told. I kind of want to do that. Maybe we'll do that on the way out.
Hello.
Hi, good, how are you?
Good. Car straight ahead, and we're ready to the store. You can get mine over there. Those pretty quickly because I took 25 to 30 people.
Okay.
The visitor center has that.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is one of my very favorite activities to do around Halloween in Atlanta. It is a tour of the Oakland Cemetery, and the event is called Capturing the Spirit of Oakland. And so basically what they do is they have a walking tour of the cemetery, and they have actors that are dressed up and they portray the residents of the cemetery, basically telling you their life stories. It's not scary at all. Oakland Cemetery is like in the heart of Atlanta. It's really pretty to come here in the daytime too. The cemetery doesn't do too many interments anymore. They say they do more weddings than they do interments. Anyway, Philip went to the bathroom waiting for him to get back before we get on the line for the bar.
Good. I am Molly Neal. The gentleman at the very back is Thomas Neal.
Good evening.
Our residency is on that front road that you came in. You didn't pass it tonight, but come sometime and look at it. It is beautiful. Has a statue of two women. They're holding open books. There's a Celtic cross. The symbolism on it is exquisite. Thomas had it made for myself and our daughter Mary Liz, who died at 22. I grieve myself today. I could not get on with the fact of we had lost other children. But you realize in Victorian time, you often did because there was no penicillin, no vaccination, no antibiotics. Childhood was a rough time. But I thought we had it made. We had at least got 2 of our children to adulthood. We lost them, and it was really a blow to me. I would like to welcome you to our annual Halloween Capture the Spirit. You are in for a treat tonight. You are going
Did you bring your visitor?
We did.
Hello.
Big step down here. Watch your step,
There's a
though.
lot of y'all back there.
Watch your
Welcome,
step
welcome.
and then get as close as you can.
No, everybody watch your step as you come down. I can't have you joining me out here in the cemetery tonight. Hello. Welcome to the party. Though I know some of you already had a cocktail. Or two. Well, my name is Julia Murphy Whitehead Hungerford, but you may call me Julia. Though I was born in 1897, I came of age in the 1920s. The Roaring 20s. Now, before we get into my somewhat scandalous escapades, let me tell you about the rest of the family here at the Murphy Mausoleum. I would introduce you, but everybody's out and about tonight. Now, our mausoleum is an exquisite example of neoclassical design. You can tell by the columns, and there is a lovely stained glass angel inside. Not dedicated to me, I assure you. My mama, Julia Gatens Murphy, bought our plot here at Oakland, and I must ask you a favor regarding Mama. If you see her tonight, don't mention the champagne. She, disapproves of liquor, and men, and parties, and really fun of any kind, so let's keep her a secret, shall we? But now you must go on to meet the other charming guests here at our Oakland soiree. Au revoir, and remember, don't tell Mama about the champagne. Good night.
Good night.
Came from. See, family is our strength, and all that I've achieved in my life is because of my family. Now, my parents and I, we were emancipated slaves, and we just took advantage of the opportunities that were out there. See, right after the war, there was a brief period of time, which I call the Reconstruction period, where Negroes were allowed political power and social status. And I took advantage of those times, and I went to school because I was determined to live a better life. And that, my friends, is lesson number 2. Be determined in the face of adversity. Now, right after the war, they said that Negro men should just sharecrop or serve white families. Now, see, I became a barber, and I bought a barbershop on Decatur Street. Now, me and Alonzo Herndon, the country's first black millionaire who owned a barbershop on Auburn Avenue, we competed fiercely. But it was to build our businesses and better ourselves. And that, by the way, is lesson number 3. Get a cohort to run with, because you cannot do it on your own. Now, like the rest of my peers, I matriculated through Atlanta University, and I became an upstanding citizen here in this city. Now, I was first elected into public office in 1880. This is only 15 years after slavery had ended. See, I was a delegate to the Republican National Convention in Chicago when James Garfield was elected. Now, some of y'all, that might not seem impressive, but it was a period of tremendous change. In the 15th Amendment, it allowed Negro men the right to vote, and I was ready. See, it was the party of Lincoln. I vowed to do my part. And that right there is lesson number 4. Make a positive impact in your community. Now, I was appointed Collector of Internal Revenue for Georgia in 1897, and I served for 4 terms, the longest serving African American in this position in its history. Now, they say that when you're in charge of the money, you gain a little influence in this city. Yeah, I can testify to that. You see, but I was able to hire other African Americans in positions of importance, and together, we make a difference in our city. And this brings me to lesson number 5. Don't be afraid to speak up. I even had a disagreement with Booker T. Washington, who felt that Negroes should lessen their demands of equality in exchange for education. They called it the Atlanta Compromise. I disagreed. I mean, we might as well be enslaved again. And
Come, get around, because the lady doesn't shout. Step lively now. I'm the only dead person out here. Step lively. Good evening, good evening. Advocate for the people of my race, especially the women. Let's get in my sorrows of Alpha, Kappa, Alpha, sorority. My parents were both professors at Atlanta University and instilled in me a love of education and a commitment to faith. I attended classes at the Star School, the first school for African Americans in Atlanta.
My family aspired to be a part of the talented 10th. You've heard of the talented 10th. Yes. Well, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, a leader of our race, argued that blacks needed higher education to reach their full potential. He said, the Negro race shall be saved by its exceptional men. Well now, I agree with Dr. Du Bois, but shouldn't men and women lead the charge? Well, in 1908, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority was established. The first Greek letter organization founded by and for African American women. I was the first secretary. I worked on the bylaws and the Constitution. Our colors were salmon pink and apple green. We chose the I. I know you must move on, but all of you remember, use your voice for truth and be of service to all mankind. And ladies, remember, empowered women empower women. Thank you for sharing my story.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Now, my interest in medicine may have begun with Father's stories of being wounded in battle, but I did always wonder why there weren't female doctors delivering babies. I mean, in the 19th century, a woman didn't even show her ankles in public, and yet she was expected to let a man into the delivery room. And let's not forget, pregnancy and childbirth could be deadly. In 1900, for every 100,000 births, 1,000 women died. Look around Oakland and you'll see many young women who perished in childbirth, sometimes buried alongside the tiny graves of their infants. I wanted to help change that. Naturally, some people thought it was inappropriate for a woman to become a doctor, but I let my success shine through the fire.
That's true, thank you. I was born in Vermont in 1915, but I came down south in my 20s and became a real Southerner. Picked up the accent too because it was good for business. And I tell you, I was born to be a salesman. I had a real talent for telling the truth without really being honest. So I was a natural for politics too. I ran for city council and easily won. Speaking of honesty, don't trust everything these dead folks tell you tonight. They may have moved on, but that don't make them no angels. Especially that red wine fella. You'll know him when you see him. He's a real smooth talker. So just hold on to your wallet and your dates, too. Of course, as a salesman, I did my fair share of sweet talking with the ladies. Even convinced a beautiful young woman to be my wife, though I'm nothing much to look at. We bought some property up in Cobb County, over 100 acres. Our little house survived the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain, led by that, Sherman fella. That was his name. While I was off being a sharpshooter for the southern side, the Union soldiers turned it into a hospital. I hear they're using it for fancy dress parties and such nowadays. You'll find it right near downtown Marietta. It's called the William McAdoo House because the 46th Secretary of the Treasury from 1913 to 1918 was born there. Now, of course, with all my talent for words, I could not outtalk death. And he came for me in 1903. I was 88 years old when they buried me here in Oakland, right there by the front gate. You know, sometimes I think about when I first came down south. There was nothing but a handful of wooden houses stretched along red dirt roads. A bear could be walking across your front yard. A bobcat sitting on your stoop. Now, of course, Steam engines and automobiles have changed all that. But you know what don't change?
I was born in Philadelphia in 1810. One thing I'm particularly proud that I fought for is that I led the group that changed the name of this city to Atlanta. Can you imagine if we were still called Marthasville? Now, from my farm in Gordon County, I raise state fair prize winning animals. So, how does a man go from a barefoot farm boy to a city-fied businessman? From the north, Philadelphia, to the south, Atlanta. Well, it seemed I had a head for engineering, and I went to work for the railroads. But this was the 1830s, and the railroads were still the future of America. But I worked hard. I worked my way up, and I reinvested what I made back into transportation. But as I look at this magnificent animal over here, I'm reminded that in the 1830s, horses were still the main means of transportation. So I started a stagecoach line, which brought me here in 1844. I built Atlanta's first streetcar line. Call it a distant precursor of the MARTA of today. I also built Atlanta's first professional baseball field, Charger. And despite a rather unfortunate beginning, I developed a love of education. I donated the land that was used to create the Georgia Institute of Technology. I died in 1889. But if you go to the Fox Theater, or if you get a cocktail at the Georgian Terrace Hotel, you're on property that once belonged to me. Well, I appreciate you coming out tonight and giving me the chance to talk about my favorite topic, myself. Well, Champion and I sure have enjoyed your company. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you.
Good job.
But you have another stop. Aren't you curious about what's ahead? Enjoy the rest of your tour and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, everybody.
Red wine. Hang on to your date and your wallet. This is him.
I wonder.
My, what a lovely crowd. Yes. Ladies, gentlemen, my name is Lewis Parks Redwine, but I was called many things during my lifetime. Handsome, charming, flirt, and scoundrel. Now, I know that Marble Man Oatman warned you about me, but I'm a perfectly decent fellow, except for the stolen millions, of course. I was the firstborn, arriving in 1858 in Noonan, Georgia. Now, sadly, my mother died when I was just 8 years old. Heartbreak at such an age hardens you. And perhaps it was then I began to seek pleasure rather than respectability in life. Oh, my personal life swirled with rumors linking me romantically to everyone in town. Everyone. Including my best friend, Thomas Cobb Jackson. Now, being a playboy is an expensive pastime, so my father was relieved when I finally settled into a proper job at the Gate City National Bank. But then one day in 1893, they discovered a slight discrepancy in the books. A mysterious withdrawal by yours truly for $25,000, which is over $700,000 today. And a new name was added to my reputation. Embezzler. Well, my boss sent for me straight away, but I slipped out the front doors and fled. Soon, more money was found missing, nearly $3 million in today's currency. Oh. The bank was wrecked and forced to close its doors. Society was shocked, and I was on the run. And then, Tom Cobb killed himself. Now, some insisted he was distraught over a friend's recent death, but many blamed me, assumed he was part of the scheme. The poor Tom wasn't here to deny it, and I was nowhere to be found. Oh, I wish I could say I was hiding out in some fancy Parisian hotel, but I was in a dusty boarding house over on the west side. The landlady turned me in for the reward. So mortifying. I mean, several of my lady friends were investigated. They even arrested one and searched her house, but never found any money at all. Oh, the police were certain, and I had accomplices. But I never said a word. So, I went to prison. Yeah, I don't recommend it. I mean, the food is terrible, and the outfit is, well, unflattering. Now, while detained, I received a large inheritance from another lady friend, which started tongues wagging about hush money. And then, in a twist that might surprise you, I was pardoned by President William McKinley in 1897. The Atlantic. After prison, the authorities followed me around, hoping I might, lead them to the cash, but it was never found. Now, unfortunately, prison takes a toll on a gentleman's health, and I died 3 years later in Louisiana. And I took that secret to my grave, along with the location of all that cash. Well, perhaps it's still hidden, tucked beneath some floorboards in a rambling old house in Inman Park or Grant Park or... Now, wait a minute. As I recall, it was actually hidden in a secret compartment in that old mansion over in... Oh, well, looks like we're out of time. So lovely seeing you. Please stop by anytime. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
I would like to thank you for coming this evening and spending it with us here in Oakland at our tour. I hope you will come often, and I hope you come next year because, yes, one of the guests asked me, each year the residents you're going to meet are different.